Alrighty, and welcome to the Galaxie studio. My name's William.
This is Davis.
And in honor of, National Collector Car Appreciation Day, which was Friday, which we couldn't do anything for that. But today's Sunday. It's still part of the weekend, so it still works.
So but time to get the car going, man.
Exactly. So we're going to do just a basic carburetor adjustment on the Galaxie, because next weekend we're shooting we're putting the Pertronics stuff in.
Pertronics flamethrower distributor and
coil and wires.
Coil and wires, that's it. Thank you.
So this thing's got to be in tune before that stuff goes in. So before we do the carb, I'm going to do a quick timing adjustment, because there's no point in adjusting a carb to bad timing. I think it's okay. It should be okay. We'll see. On the 390 FE, it's 6 degrees before top dead center. Years ago, I took the little white paint, some liquid paper.
There you go.
And you get it in there so you don't have to fight the notch. But before we get going, I got to put some gas in this baby, because the last problem was that fuel leak.
Oh.
And I lost a lot of gas.
Well, at least you got gas ahead of time.
So, original heads on this thing, so I got to put some lead substitute, octane boost, but for today I'm just going to dump this in. This is the 92 octane that was $4.50 a gallon.
Ouch.
So 2 gallons, because before you do a carb adjustment and stuff like that, it's got to get warmed up. So, and I'm just sitting on that line, So, gonna get some gas in there, warm it up, and we'll get started on. Oh, and it's a Holley 650 double pump, which
we'll get a close up of that.
We'll get into that.
That's not awkward.
There we go.
Well, you good thing it's not lit, William.
Yeah, kids, don't smoke when you're dealing with gas. Alrighty, let's fire her up and get her warmed up.
Yeah, we'll check our timing.
Alrighty, this is your basic timing light. I've had this probably 30 years. Sun Pro. Essentially, there's a mark on the crank, or not on the crank, but on the dampener, which is attached to the crank, that spins around. You've got your pickup here that picks off from spark plug number 1. This reads...
For a Ford, that's this side passenger front is number 1. On Chevy or GM, it's on the driver's side.
Yeah. You can also tell because this head is slightly lower than that head.
Okay, I never noticed that, but I don't...
Okay, this picks up essentially the spark coming out of the distributor and flashes a light at that time. That time is specifically set to that mark down on the pulley. And so as it turns around, you hit it with the light, you should see that mark right at the pulley. If it's slightly off, you loosen the distributor, turn it slightly to the right or to the left, which advances or retards it, and you get it lined up, because this isn't like a Volkswagen you tune by ear. This is a machine. When it says 6 degrees before top dead center, that's 6 degrees before top dead center.
There you go.
So let's warm it up and we'll get her timed. Alrighty, this baby is cold. It's going to take a few minutes, so I'm going to pop a top and let her warm up. You see the white mark is about a half inch away from the
from the pointer.
Oh, I remember why. Okay, so as it turns out, my timing is off. I had a DUI distributor set up in here, and I kept blowing fuses, so I took it out, and one of the things the manufacturer recommended was advancing the timing. Well, when I put the stock one back in, I didn't check the timing, so I got to do a quick little adjustment. But glad I did. That's why it didn't run so good last time we took her out.
Stuttered a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to fix that issue, then we'll get into the carburetor.
Okay, so I can definitely tell that I'm more than a couple few degrees off. So I'm going to rotate the distributor until the line and the pointer line up real nice. Okay, that's the wrong way. Oh, there we go. A little more. A little more. Wow. You can really hear the difference in the engine. It sounds the way it's supposed to. Parts are all lined up. I've got a little bit higher RPM, which I'm going to adjust with the carburetor. I didn't set up the external tach yet. But I imagine, oh yeah, we've got better vacuum. Overall, just better sounding engine. This is probably the issue from the last, when we took it over to the Newport L show. So, let's shut it off so I don't hit my hand on that fan. But I didn't loosen up the distributor too much, so it's going to stay in place while I tighten it up. And then we'll get into the car.
So William, tell us a little about what you got going on right here. What is this?
Okay, this is my Sears solid state electronic engine analyzer, which again I've had for 20, 30 years.
Great investment. Probably cost you 30, 35 bucks today.
I'm sure now it's all digital.
Multi-tester does more than just, you know, measure RPMs. You can.
But dwell points.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
If you're still
volts,
running
amps.
points. Yep.
Essentially, I'm going to hook it up for the tachometer, because there's first thing you need to do when you're dialing in the carb is to get the idle speed correct, which
Curb idle,
which is
probably about 900. Isn't it about 800
on this? It's like 550, 600
RPM
in park.
in park?
So you get that dialed in first, and then you start working on your airflow mixtures,
Airflow mixture screws.
which would be right there for the primaries, and secondaries would be in, well, there aren't ones.
I don't think there is.
No, there aren't any on the secondaries. It's the primary that's the key. It's the power valve that really is the key for your secondaries.
This is a double pumper.
Right, the 650 Holley. Forget the model number, but it's like, you know, your super most common one. There's two different ways to dial this thing in. I highly recommend starting off at a good base. On a Holley, it's 1.5 turns out. That's what Holley recommends.
Probably what the factory setting is too.
That's exactly what it is.
At least get you idling.
Right. That's to get you going. From there, there's the right way, and then the backyard mechanic way. The right way is using the tach and the vacuum.
Well, yeah, you keep an eye on your vacuum gauge, see what gives you the best optimal vacuum
at the leanest setting.
at the leanest setting. Correct.
The other way, which
Which is all dependent too on what kind of cam you're using, because more cam means you're going to get less vacuum.
exactly. So the way I usually do it, I'll bring it in here. I've got my nice long screwdriver, so it fits right through all this linkage. I start bringing it in until I hear the engine drop. and you'll hear
You'll
it.
notice it right away.
And then it'll drop because it's way too lean. And then from there, you just back it out like a quarter to a half, and it really seems to work. Then you come over, do it on the other side, and then you come back and check your curb idle again to make sure it's good. You might need to bump that up, might need to bring it down depending on what you did. And then if you really should then, after you do that, readjust the air idle screws, and then you've got a near perfect dial in. I used the
Yeah, right.
I
The
keep my eye on this to make sure my curb idle is good. Use the vacuum gauge to make sure, see what's going on with vacuum. I have both these gauges inside the car, but it's really a pain to,
Yeah, right. Either that or it takes two people. Right.
Walk back around. So simple investment, garage sale, eBay, junkyard find, old school Stuart Warner gauge, and your basic engine analyzer. Okay, so bring it back to factory settings.
It's always easy to get to, isn't it?
Yeah, when you're getting old and you can't see anymore.
Right.
There it is. So bring it back to factory settings, screw it in till it seats. Don't over torque that. And then 1.5 turns out. So, and 1 and. So there's our basic starting place. I'm gonna fire it up and see where she's at. Okay, I can already tell where my curb idles have 620 or so. That's just a little high. It should be closer to 550 for this application. So it's a matter of one screw. It raises and lowers it. Okay, that already sounds better. It doesn't feel like it's trying to race. And looking over at the tack, that looks about right. About 550. Yeah. Get a little 1/8 of a turn. That's right where it should be. So vacuum gauge, where we at? That's right at 15. I seem to remember this doing better than that. So, driver's side, I'm going to slowly bring it in. Okay, there, you can hear it drop. Way down. Bring it back a half, about a half to a quarter. Vacuum's about the same. I seem to remember running about 18 on a good dial-in, but let me get to the other side. Okay, so other side, bring it in a little bit. You can hear it drop. Back out 1/4 to a half. Seems like she's running pretty smooth. Double check our curb idle. Pretty good. And we're sitting a little low, so I'm going to bump it up just a little bit. Get over to the idle screw, and you can hear it struggling just a little bit. It's like, oh yeah. She says, thank you. And with practice, I mean, you can do this by ear, by hearing it, but I was like, yeah, that's right on. And I can hear the engine smooth out. I should redo both of these sides if this is going to be a long-term or seasonal dial-in. But next weekend we're changing out the distributor, coil, and the wires. So I'm not going to do it. It's smooth, it's fine. We've got a good baseline. That's decent vacuum. The box, you know, so I think we're good. So that was a quick tune on the Galaxie in preparation for next weekend. Pertronics.
Flamethrower.
This stuff's going in next weekend.
Billet distributor.
I'm not a fan of the billet, but
Hey man,
it's gonna work.
that thing's gonna be awesome.
So looking forward to it.
Better than cast.
Oh yeah. Engine's dialed in, which you want to do before you dive into something like this, because then you've got too many variables going around. You know, when you run into problems.
And then for the distributor, you want a good hot spark, so you're gonna want to get a good coil. Flamethrower too.
And here's a tip for especially you Ford guys: the coil when it's stock, the coil's facing the back of the engine.
Right.
But,
right.
You know,
You can
and
turn
so
it around.
you know, and so it's hard to get to these, you know, your connections and stuff like that. There's always enough wire where you can flip it around, so these connections are at the front. It's really saves a whole lot of time and effort. To wrap this up, make sure that you obviously lose your external gauges, put the vacuum advance back on, clear up any extra tools, and take her out for a spin. You know, because I mean,
Yeah.
that's really the
Curb idle and then freeway speed.
Yep, but
Stop and go traffic.
exactly. But that's your basic dial-in. Of course, there's always fine tuning, especially on the Holleys, because you know there's you can redo the jets, the power valve, the shooters, all specific. Not getting into all that.
Altitude.
Yeah, this is just your basic how to dial it in seasonally, essentially, or after a change. Get it back to where it's supposed to be running. So thanks for watching. Go ahead and hit any comments underneath on the channel here. Visit the website www.primerpodcast.com. We've always got tons of event coverage, photos, videos, blog, calendar, all kinds of stuff. So until next time, my name is William.
This is Davis.
Don't skimp on the primer. I guess I got a WD-40.